Do you need to have an odds screen if you're betting on sports? Well, the answer to that used to be maybe if you don't bet a lot, you don't need one. But today, in this day and age, I've got a reason for you to need one, even if you only bet a little bit, even if you love to just bet props and ladders, and long shots and things of that nature. I have found the perfect screen for you. And I've worked with this company to get you 2 weeks for free to try it out during the NFL season. You will not find another odds screen out there that will give you 2 weeks for free to try it out. But over at OddsJam, that's what you can get if you use oddsjam.com/Warren. You have to go to that URL or you're not going to get the 2 week free trial because they're not giving it to anybody else. It's just for my audience.
Before we dig into the OddsJam screen, here are some of the top features that you'll get. Real-time updates, the fastest in the industry. Pre-game and live odds coverage. Domestic sportsbook data. All the main markets plus player props plus futures. Line movement history and charts. Favorite games for quick access and alternate lines.
Let me show you why this is such a valuable tool. We're going to do a little bit of a screen share here, and I'm going to walk through it from why is it helpful to how it's going to make you more money. Let's go through it. This is I use it for football, betting on football, but you could use it for any sport. They've got a ton of sports here. You can hit this pencil and pick the sports that you want to add to the top so that they're at the top. But I mean, you go through here, whatever sport that you want to bet, you can find lines on that sport. And we'll get into some of these other menu choices here. But the bottom line is you're going to be looking at, if you go to the main markets, you're going to be looking at the lines for the games at a variety of different sports books that you can choose to put on your screen. You can rearrange these by dragging them, and you can pick from a ton of different sports books, whichever ones that you want to have listed on the screen. So there's a ton of different options. And what you're going to see in this particular instance is live lines for the side and the total of each of these games. So this is the point spread on the side, and this is what the total of the game is. So you can use it in a couple of ways. If you are trying to be more of a professional bettor and you want to see where line moves are occurring, you might want a bunch of books, even if you don't have accounts there. If you're just trying to look to bet for yourself and you're not really caring about those other aspects of it, you're not trying to be a bigger, more aware sports bettor, maybe you just want to have a couple of the books that you have access to. Maybe it's Novig and Caesars and FanDuel and DraftKings and MGM. You just want those few books. You can just choose those books. So you can do whatever you want. You don't have to have Vegas books. You don't have to have offshore books. You can just have a couple of the other books. You could drag these, like I said, but what we're seeing here is we're seeing where lines have moved by this red or the green, whether it moved higher or lower. And you can hover over it and you can see exactly what it was before and how long it moved. So in this particular case, you can see it was +4, -110 at Fanatics on the Tennessee Titans. And now it's +4.5, meaning a little bit of money came in on the Indianapolis Colts and they shifted it that number of seconds ago. You can define how long you want these green and red boxes to stay populated there. If you want to clear them, you just hit refresh and they'll disappear. But you can come into your settings bar here if you do have this product, and you can come down here to the highlight color and you can choose the solid duration for screen shading and just jack that up as high as you want in terms of seconds. And so they'll never leave, which I find very valuable when I am stepping into the other room, getting on a conference call, any type of thing. And then I want to glance at my odds screen to see what's changed since I last was staring at it. I can now see everything lit up if there's been a line move since I last looked at it. You also have an indicator over here, which will show what the best odds are for these different books. So if you want to find, let's pretend you want to bet on the Tennessee Titans, +4.5 -101 is the best odds, and you can get that over at Novig. So this will only display the books for which you've selected here. So if you only put 3 books, it's going to tell you what the best odds are at those 3 books. If you've got 30 books here, it'll tell you what the best odds are at those 30 books. So this is sides and totals. The other thing that's really cool about this game, though, which I use it for player props, and let me start unlocking some of the value to this, is, you can come up here in main markets and we're looking at, you can look at first half market, you can look at first half money line. You've got tons of different money lines here that you can select from. You can come down here to the totals markets, total points scored, total passing touchdowns, like for the teams in the game combined. And then there's all sorts of player props. You've got full game player props. You've got first half passing yards. You've got really anything that you want. is going to be listed here under player props. And then you've got team markets, you've got race to markets, race to 10 points, race to 12 points. You've got futures markets, regular season passing yards, AFC East winner. So all of your odds that you would ever need, futures or player props or team props, you can find them here. And then there's other markets. But the cool thing about what OddsJam allows you to do is you can define in your settings over here at the top what markets you want to have under your quick markets. You can edit those and select which markets you want. So for me personally, I've selected some of these markets to be at the top. I want the main markets. I want the money lines for every game. So you can see it'll refresh and it'll show you what the money line is, the team total for every game, the point spread for every game. So this will show you the point spread on both sides if you don't want to have to look at the total, and you can see what the best odds are over here. First half main markets. So this will just be for the first half. First half point spread only, first half total points, first half team total, which I dabble in that market a lot. I could just see what the team total is for the different teams in the first half. But then we get into player props. And this is the part that gets really, really fun and exciting, guys. So you can just come here to hit a player passing yards, and it's going to show you all the player passing yards, what the total number is for the passing yards, and the odds to go over or under for all of the different players. Let's say you want to isolate a particular game. You can come up here and you can type Cowboys. If I want to look at Cowboys, start typing cow, boom, you've got the Cowboys game. Dallas and Chicago, both quarterbacks are going to be lined here. So let's say you wanted to look at receiving yards. You can keep the cow, which is short for Cowboys, obviously. I'm just typing it quickly. And you can keep it there. And now you're looking at all the receiving yards just for this game. Every single player that's currently lined, what their receiving yardage total is. But the other thing you can do is you could just cut to like the chase if you just want a specific guy. Let's go Rome Odunze. So Rome, there you go. You start typing his name long enough. He will be the only one that appears here. Rome Odunze, his yardage appears right here. They have rushing yards. I mean, every single prop. But they also, like on this market, and what I like to do up here is I got longest reception. I've got all the different longest rush. I've got longest completion. All of these I could choose from and go and quickly navigate to whichever one I want. You're not going to find an ability to like toggle between player props like that as quickly as this at any other book to see what the lines are for each of them and decide where you want to place a bet. But here's the other fascinating thing. So let's look at receiving yards, and let's say you want to look at Jaylen Warren. Okay, Jaylen Warren's receiving yardage is right here. You can come over here and click this down arrow, which says show alt lines. And now it'll bring up all the ladders that you can choose from. So if there's any laddering opportunity at any sports book for Jaylen Warren, it will show up here. So for example, his regular flat number was, I believe it was like 19.5 to like 21.5. Here's the various different books. So clearly you could see where you would want to bet this just regularly if you wanted to find the best number. But you can come here, you want to say 25 plus. So you go over 24.5. The best line for over 24.5 is going to be at Hard Rock is plus 130. It tells you right there. The best line is Hard Rock plus 130. You go to the alt of over 29.5. So basically 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus. And you could see all the different odds at all of these different books. Now, here's the great part about this. Let's pretend that you wanted to bet Jaylen Warren to have 50 plus receiving yards. Well, you don't want to go to FanDuel to bet that because it's only plus 430. You could go to MGM to bet that. It's plus 625. We're talking about nearly a 200 difference in your payout. Best line is here at Betway, but that's plus 650. But if you don't have Betway, you go to MGM, it's plus 625. So this is going to help you save a lot of money or make more money if you're betting this ladder. In other words, in a split second, we figured out I don't want to go to FanDuel to bet this. I want to go to MGM, and instead of plus 430, I'm getting plus 625. Let's do another example. Let's pretend I want to bet rushing yards, and I want to look for a quarterback who I think could have some rushing yards in this game. I want to bet Caleb Williams. I don't know. I think Caleb Williams is going to run for a lot of yards. So I'll just go Caleb to make it easy. And I click the alt down. So once again, if I want to ladder Caleb Williams and I want to go to 50 plus rushing yards for Caleb Williams, now I can instantly see, well, actually now in this case, FanDuel is the best odds. I don't want to go to DraftKings, which is plus 351, or MGM, which is plus 340. I want to make more money by going over to FanDuel at plus 430. So a lot of you guys, I think, go in here, like bet the games and just whip out your app and just go, yeah, let's do Caleb Williams. I'm on my FanDuel app. Let me just ladder Caleb Williams here. you're costing yourself a ton of money doing that. If you have even a few of these different books, like FanDuel and DraftKings, let's pretend, because they have lines for this, you're costing yourself a ton of money by just not simply having the OddsJam screen and saying, I'm not going to bet the ladder at FanDuel. I'm not going to bet the ladder at DraftKings. I'm not going to bet it at MGM. I'm just going to go to FanDuel to bet this ladder. So you need to figure out the best way to get down on these games, and you don't have a lot of time. And this is the shortcut. We found this in 2 seconds, going here and figuring out that Caleb in rushing yards, the best place to ladder it is over at FanDuel. So that's going to save you a ton of money on the props perspective. But like I said, there's a lot of great features here that you can utilize on the player prop market. Another one is you can come over here and click the show opening prices, and it will display only the opening prices for any of the player props. So if you want to see what this line opened at, and am I getting a bad number here? How much has this been bet out of shape? You can click that little tag and it will show the opening price. If you want to see the last price, which is like what it was just before it made that most recent move, you can hit show previous price. And now it will show you the price that it just was right before it went to the current line. This for me is a very valuable tool, especially when I'm looking at the main markets, sides and totals for these games. Because when I'm looking at main markets, I want to know exactly what the line was and where it is now and what it moved from at that point in time. So if it's got a indicator light over it that it just changed, you can figure out what it was by hovering over that. But if you don't have an indicator light, I can just come up here to the show previous price, and I'm instantly going to be able to see what the previous price was on each of these games. And then I can just toggle back and forth at these different books and see what it moved to and when it moved. You want to see like when it moved, you can click in here and you can click the points, and this will load in a second and show you what this moved from. So this was, what a game even looking at Philadelphia Eagles here. This was down at -3 on September 16th at 11:25 a.m. It moved from -3 to -3.5, which is what it is still right now. So that move occurred on September 16th at 11:25, and it's been 3.5 since. So you can see where these lines were and where they moved and what they're at now. So this is a great way to look at the quick odds history. If you want that as well, again, hover over it, you'll see what it was. This one just changed the juice. So the -6.5 is still the same, but it was -110. Sorry, it was -115 26 seconds ago. Now it's -110. What else should I show you? So I showed you ladders. I showed you the markets. I showed you the opener. I showed you the last. You can choose the individual games if you want to. You can sort just by week if you want to just go by a week of games. There's a lot of different functionality here. What I love about it also, you can do this. Now, I just want to tell you this. I've never used OddsJam before. I started dabbling with it a little bit last year because I had a buddy of mine who had OddsJam. And so I was talking to him a little bit about it. He's like, it's got player props. It's great. I said, that would be helpful for me, save me a lot of time. Let me check it out. I fell in love with using the product tail end of last season. So I talked to them in the off season, literally like the guys who operate and own OddsJam. And I said, your odds screen is good, but it could be even better if we added a couple of functionalities that I'm more accustomed to at some of my old shops. And so that's when we added, like I worked with them, that's when we added the indicator so that it'll show up here for games. The other thing that we added is the ability to favorite a game, so that it can go onto a favorites tab so that you can only look at the games or the props that you care about. So for example, if I'm looking to bet or focus in on this Raiders Commanders game, I can just come in here and favorite that game. I can come into the college market and I can favorite, another couple of games, Utah and Texas. And I only want to I'm looking to bet VMI Richmond. So like in college, this is more appropriate because there's a lot of different games. I really am interested in betting Temple, Georgia Tech, let's say. So you have all these games. It's hard to track the lines. But what you can do is, now that I favored them, just go to your favorites tab, and those 3 college games are going to be listed right there. You go back to your NFL tab, and the game that I favorited will be right there. You don't want to get rid of favorites. You just click back to all. You'll see them all. You click the favorites, you see the favorites. So it's an easy way to identify certain games that you want to track closely. And the other cool thing about this is you can have this on multiple windows if you want. So I have a monitor. I have one of my half dozen, actually it's more than half dozen monitors that has different tabs. And on one of them, it's player passing yards. On one of them, a new tab is player receiving yards. A new tab is player rushing yards. A new tab is player receptions. So I've got literally a computer with a monitor with a browser open and I've got 15 tabs at the top that all have different settings or markets selected for these, so that I can track them even closer. So that I don't have to have one screen up where I'm toggling back and forth, because this is web-based, so that you can have as many browser windows open as you want when you're logged into your account. The other thing is there's a mobile app, so you can take this on the go and you can look at the markets that way, and you can see where the best lines are for ladders and things of that nature. Again, they just came out with some of these functionalities where you can favorite games, where you can have the odds show up for longer, where you can basically have them indicated. You've got these player props at the top that you can select for these main markets. A lot of these things are new this year, and I just can't encourage enough, even if you only bet a little bit on games. This is going to help you identify the places, the sportsbook that you should open first. This is going to identify that app that you should go to first, so that you can get the most money on your wagers, payback. You can get the best bang for your buck anytime that you're betting a game, even if you only have a few books. And like I said, it's worth trying out. It is 2 weeks for free. 2 weeks for free with no strings attached. If you don't like it, you can cancel it. I'm pretty positive that you're going to want to stick with the product and try it out the rest of the year and use especially for the player props. The searching is super quick, super easy to figure out. It's very intuitive design. But these are some of the hacks that I like to use in terms of the way that you can come here and customize your screen settings to set up your most popular leagues, your markets that you want to have listed at the top. And I like to jack this up. So that's a couple of things that should be able to help you a bit. And then, of course, it's selecting your books, arranging the books in the order that you want, and then you're ready to go. You're ready to go. Anytime that these odds are moving, you'll see indicators. I'm tabbing around so much that a lot of these are not moving as frequently. If you go and look at some of my older screens, I don't have them up on this PC, but some of the older screens will have red, green all over them because I've left them there for a little while. I haven't refreshed them. So it's ways for you to see where the odds were and where they shifted to. So I just can't recommend it enough. And I'm really happy to be able to promote a product that I actually use on a daily basis and that I helped redesign this offseason to an extent to make it more user-friendly for our purposes, what we would be looking to do as we're betting props, sides, and totals in the NFL specifically. So make sure you click the link in the description below, oddsjam.com/Warren. That is the only way you're going to be able to get 2 weeks absolutely free for this product. Again, I think it's going to save you money. It's going to save you time. It's going to make you money if you're looking to do some ladders and find the best place to bet some of these props. It's just a outstanding product, and I use it every day, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So go check it out. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about how to use it, how I use it, where to find certain things. And the guys who are there are super responsive. If you have any question, you don't know anything, you want some clarity, you need to figure out how to do a certain thing, you just can easily contact them. There's the links down here to contact them, and they're like online 24/7 to respond to your questions or your concerns and get you to where you need to be with figuring out how to use something. So can't recommend it enough. oddsjam.com/Warren, 2 weeks for free. Try it out. What's the harm? I think you're going to love it.